Maya Rodriguez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she wheeled the cart of fresh targets down the concrete corridor of Precision Point shooting range. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows between the shooting lanes. It was 8:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and the evening crowd was winding down, mostly the regulars who came in after work to decompress with some therapeutic target practice. She'd been working at the range for 8 months now. Ever since dropping out of her engineering program at State, the job wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and gave her access to the shooting sports she'd grown to love. Her manager, Rick, had taught her basic pistol handling for safety purposes, though she'd never fired anything more powerful than the range's .22 training guns. As Maya replaced a particularly shredded bullseye target in lane 12. She found herself glancing toward the far end of the range. Lane 24 had been occupied for the past hour by a man who moved with an economy of motion that caught her attention. Unlike the other shooters who chatted between rounds or checked their phones, this one maintained absolute focus. His shots came in measured intervals, crack, pause, each one finding the center ring with mechanical precision. She'd noticed him before over the past few weeks. Always alone, always quiet, always deadly accurate. He carried himself differently than the weekend warriors and hobby shooters. There was something coiled about him, like a spring under tension. Maya had grown up around military personnel. Her father had been Army, and she recognized the bearing. The man's rifle was unlike anything else on the range. While most customers used the facility's rental guns or brought their own hunting rifles, his weapon was clearly military grade. Matte black finish, high-end optics, and modifications she couldn't identify but somehow knew were expensive and purposeful. Maya was securing the fresh target when she heard his phone ring. The man, tall, maybe 35, with close-cropped dark hair and weathered hands, stepped back from his shooting position and answered. "Carter here," he said, his voice carrying just enough for Maya to catch fragments as she worked nearby. The conversation was brief and cryptic. Extraction point compromised, and need alternative assets, followed by coordinates she didn't recognize. Something in his tone made Maya's skin prickle. This wasn't a casual conversation about weekend plans or work schedules. The man Carter spoke with the clipped efficiency of someone accustomed to life-or-death communications. Carter ended the call and stood motionless for a moment, his eyes scanning the range with new intensity. Maya tried to focus on her work, but she could feel his gaze settling on her. When she glanced up, he was studying her with the same methodical attention he'd given his targets. The range's ambient noise, the pop of .22s, the deeper boom of larger calibers, the mechanical whir of target retrieval systems suddenly felt muted. Maya's heart rate picked up as Carter approached her position. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm but carrying an undertone of urgency. "You work here regularly?" Maya nodded, unsure where this was heading. "Every day." "I'm Maya, Carter." He extended his hand, and Maya noticed the calluses and small scars that spoke of hard use. His grip was firm but not aggressive. "I've been watching you move around here. You're comfortable with the environment?" "I guess so. Been here 8 months now." Maya felt increasingly uneasy. "Is there something you need?" Instead of answering directly, Carter glanced toward the range entrance, then back at her. "You ever fire anything beyond those training pistols?" The question caught Maya off guard. "No, not really. Why?" Carter seemed to weigh something in his mind. His phone buzzed with a text message, and Maya caught a glimpse of the screen, a series of numbers and letters that looked like military code. Carter's jaw tightened as he read it. "Maya," he said, looking directly into her eyes, "I'm going to ask you to do something that might sound crazy, but I need you to trust me for the next 60 seconds. Before Maya could respond, Carter moved with sudden fluidity back to his shooting position. He ejected the magazine from his rifle, cleared the chamber with practiced efficiency, and engaged the safety. Then, to Maya's complete bewilderment, he turned and extended the weapon toward her. "Show me what you can do," he said simply. Maya stared at the rifle in his outstretched hands. The weapon was heavier than she'd expected, its weight distributed in a way that felt both foreign and somehow natural. The stock was warm from Carter's grip, and she could smell the faint odor of gun oil and spent powder. "I don't understand," Maya said, though her hands had already moved to accept the rifle. "I've never—" "Just hold it," Carter interrupted, his voice gentle but insistent. "Feel the weight. Tell me what seems natural." Maya found herself cradling the weapon, her right hand instinctively finding the grip while her left supported the forestock. The position felt awkward at first, but as she adjusted her stance, something clicked into place. Her body seemed to remember movement she'd never learned. "Interesting," Carter murmured, watching her closely. "You've got natural mechanics. Your breathing just changed, slowed down, deepened. That's not something you can teach." Maya looked down at the rifle in her hands, then back at Carter. "What's this about? Really?" Carter's phone rang again. This time, he answered while keeping his eyes on Maya. "Carter. No, the primary is blown. I'm working on it. Give me 10 minutes. He ended the call and stepped closer to Maya. "I'm going to be completely honest with you, because I don't have time for anything else. My name is Staff Sergeant James Carter, Navy SEALs. I'm supposed to be extracted from this location in 15 minutes, but my ride just got compromised. More importantly, my team is in trouble, and they need support I can't provide from here." Maya felt the world tilt slightly. "Your team? There's a situation developing across town. Time-sensitive. Lives at stake." Carter's voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "I need someone who can shoot, someone the opposition doesn't know exists, and someone who can handle pressure. But I just work here. I replace targets and sweep up brass." Carter nodded toward the rifle in her hands. "Maybe, but you're holding that weapon like you were born to it. Your stance is textbook, your breathing is controlled, and you haven't once pointed the muzzle in an unsafe direction. That's not beginner's luck." Maya realized he was right. Despite never handling a rifle like this, her body had automatically adopted proper form. Her finger rested alongside the trigger guard, not on the trigger itself. Her feet were positioned for stability and recoil management. "I used to do archery," she said quietly. "In high school. State championships, 3 years running." Carter's expression shifted. "Archery. That explains the breathing, the stance, the natural sight alignment." He paused, seeming to make a decision. "Maya, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Are you the kind of person who can step up when innocent people are in danger?" Before Maya could answer, the lights in the range flickered. Then she heard something that made her blood freeze, the distinctive sound of the range's front door being kicked open, followed by shouting voices and the unmistakable rattle of automatic weapons. Carter's hand moved to his sidearm as 3 figures in black tactical gear burst through the entrance. Their faces covered by balaclavas, assault rifles raised and ready. "Nobody move!" The lead gunman shouted. "We're looking for Carter. James Carter." Maya felt Carter tense beside her, his hand now gripping his pistol. The other shooters in the range were diving for cover behind the concrete barriers, but there was nowhere to run. The lead gunman's eyes swept the range and locked onto Carter. "There you are, you son of a bitch. Where's the package?" Carter's voice was steady as steel. "Wrong place, wrong time, gentlemen." The gunman raised his rifle toward Carter, but Maya was directly in his line of fire. Time seemed to slow as she realized she was about to die for being in the wrong place at the wrong moment. That's when Carter made his move and changed Maya's life forever. Time fractured into crystalline moments as Carter's hand found Maya's shoulder, pulling her down behind the concrete shooting barrier, just as the lead gunman's finger tightened on his trigger. The burst of automatic fire chewed chunks from the concrete where Maya's head had been a split second before. "Stay down," Carter barked, drawing his sidearm in one fluid motion. But Maya could see the tactical problem immediately. 3 shooters with superior firepower, multiple angles of attack, and innocent civilians scattered throughout the range with nowhere to run. The lead gunman advanced down the center aisle, his weapon sweeping left and right. "Carter, we know you're here. Hand over the intel package, and maybe we don't kill everyone else." Maya's mind raced. Intel package? What had she stumbled into? Carter was pressed against the barrier beside her, his breathing controlled despite the chaos erupting around them. She could see him calculating angles, distances, probabilities. "Listen to me carefully," Carter whispered, his voice barely audible over the shouting. "These aren't random criminals. They're foreign operatives, probably Russian GRU based on their tactics. They've been hunting me for 3 days." A second gunman flanked left, moving toward the pistol lanes where 2 elderly men cowered behind overturned tables. The third operative held position at the entrance, blocking any escape route. Carter's phone buzzed with an incoming message. Even in the chaos, Maya caught a glimpse of the screen. "Package secure. Exfil compromised. Need immediate support." "My team," Carter muttered, reading the message. "They've got what these bastards want, but they're trapped." He looked at Maya with sudden intensity. "I need to take out the flanker, but the moment I move, the leader will have a clear shot at those civilians." Maya understood. Carter could handle 1, maybe 2 of the operatives, but not all 3 simultaneously. Someone was going to die. The lead gunman's voice boomed across the range. 30 seconds, Carter. Then we start executing bystanders." That's when Carter did something that defied all logic. He slid his rifle across the floor toward Maya. "Take the shot," he said, his voice carrying absolute conviction. Maya stared at the weapon. "I can't, I've never. You can." Carter's eyes locked onto hers. "Trust your instincts." The safety's off, round chambered. Center mass. Squeeze, don't pull. Follow through. The lead gunman raised his weapon toward the elderly men. Maya's hands moved without conscious thought, bringing the rifle to her shoulder. The scope's reticle wavered as she tried to find her target through the chaos. "Breathe," Carter whispered. "Just like archery. Find your anchor point." Maya's breathing slowed. The familiar rhythm of draw, aim, release from her competitive archery days flooded back. But this wasn't a foam target at 60 meters. This was a human being at 30 yards. And people would die if she missed. The gunman's finger moved toward his trigger. Maya fired. The rifle's recoil surprised her. But her shot was true. The .308 round took the operative's center mass, spinning him around and dropping him instantly. The sound echoed through the range like thunder. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Then Carter moved. He rolled left, coming up with his pistol extended, and put 2 rounds into the flanking gunman before the man could react to his partner's death. The third operative at the entrance spun toward Carter, but Maya was already working the rifle's bolt. Chambering another round, her second shot took the remaining gunman in the shoulder, spinning him into the wall. Carter was on him before he could recover, kicking the assault rifle away and zip-tying the wounded man's hands with restraints that appeared from nowhere. The entire firefight had lasted less than 90 seconds. Maya sat back against the concrete barrier, the rifle trembling in her hands. The range was filled with the acrid smell of gunpowder and the ringing silence that follows violence. Other shooters were slowly emerging from cover, their faces pale with shock. Carter was already on his phone. "Control, this is Reaper 6. Contact eliminated. one prisoner secured. Need immediate cleanup and medical. He paused, looking at Maya. And I need to talk to someone about recruitment. Maya stared at the rifle in her hands, then at the body of the man she'd just killed. She should have been horrified, traumatized, falling apart. Instead, she felt strangely calm, her hands steady despite the magnitude of what had just happened. How? She whispered. Carter knelt beside her, his expression serious but not unkind. Natural talent. The kind that shows up maybe once in 1,000 people. He gestured toward her shooting position. Perfect stance, controlled breathing, smooth trigger pull. You just made 2 shots under extreme stress that most trained operators would struggle with. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Carter's phone buzzed again, another urgent message. His face darkened as he read it. Maya, I need to ask you something, and I need an honest answer. Carter's voice carried new urgency. That was just the beginning. My team is pinned down across town, and there's a bigger situation developing. Something that's going to require skills like what you just demonstrated. Maya looked around the range at the overturned tables. The bullet holes in the walls, the blood pooling beneath the operative she'd killed. Her old life, her safe life, lay in ruins around her. What kind of situation? Carter showed her his phone screen. The message was brief but chilling. Terrorist cell active. School bus hostage situation. Developing. Ridge location. Need sniper support ASAP. Maya's blood went cold. A school bus? 43 children, ages 6 to 16. The cell we've been tracking just activated their endgame. Carter's voice was grim. They've got the bus on the Riverside Bridge, explosives rigged, and they're demanding the release of their leader from federal custody. But the police can't get a clear shot. The angle's impossible from ground level, and the terrorists will detonate if they see helicopters approaching. Carter paused. My team's sniper is dead. Killed in the initial assault on their safe house. Maya felt the weight of implication settling on her shoulders. You're talking about an 800-meter shot from a construction crane. Through wind. At a target surrounded by innocent children. Carter's eyes never left hers. The kind of shot that requires someone with natural ability, steady nerves, and the moral clarity to pull the trigger when lives hang in the balance. Maya's phone rang, her sister calling, probably wondering why she was late for their weekly dinner. The sound of normal life felt surreal against the backdrop of what Carter was asking. I'm not a soldier, Maya said quietly. No, Carter agreed. You're something rarer. You're someone who can make the impossible shot when it matters most. He stood, extending his hand. Maya Rodriguez, I'm offering you a chance to save 43 children. But I need an answer now. Maya looked at the rifle in her hands, then at Carter's outstretched palm. Through the range's windows, she could see news helicopters circling in the distance, their searchlights cutting through the evening sky. Somewhere out there, children were crying for their parents while terrorists prepared to end their lives. She thought about her archery trophies gathering dust in her childhood bedroom, about the engineering degree she'd abandoned, about the safe, predictable life she'd been living. Then she thought about the perfect clarity she'd felt when the rifle's scope had found its target. The absolute certainty of purpose in that moment of crisis. Maya took Carter's hand and let him pull her to her feet. What do I need to know? Carter's grim expression shifted into something that might have been a smile. Everything. And we've got exactly 18 minutes to teach you. Carter's tactical vehicle, a nondescript black SUV that Maya now realized was anything but ordinary, tore through the city streets with military precision. The dashboard was alive with communications equipment, GPS displays, and encrypted radio chatter that painted a picture of coordinated chaos across the metropolitan area. Citrip, Carter barked into his headset as he navigated through traffic with controlled aggression. Give me everything. The voice that crackled back was tense but professional. Reaper 6. This is Control. Terrorist cell designation Red Crescent has seized Metro School District Bus 47 on the Riverside Bridge. 43 children aboard, ages 6 to 16, plus driver and one teacher. Cell leader Halil Hassan is demanding release of Imam Rashid from federal custody within 2 hours, or they start executing hostages. Maya gripped the door handle as Carter took a corner at speed that defied physics. The rifle Carter had given her, a military-grade precision weapon, she was still learning to understand, lay secured in a case between them. What about my team? Carter demanded. Bravo team successfully extracted the intelligence package from the safe house, but they're pinned down in Sector 7. Heavy resistance. They can't reach the bridge. Carter's jaw tightened. Police response? SWAT has cordoned off both ends of the bridge, but they can't get a clear shot. The terrorists positioned the bus perfectly. Any approach triggers the dead man switch Hassan is carrying. Bomb squad estimates enough C4 to level half the bridge. Maya felt her stomach drop. Dead man switch? Carter glanced at her while navigating around a city bus. Pressure-sensitive device. If Hassan releases it or if his heart stops, the explosives detonate automatically. He paused. That's why this has to be a precision shot. Clean kill, instant incapacitation, no muscle spasms. The weight of what Carter was asking hit Maya like a physical blow. Not just a long-range shot, but a perfect shot under impossible conditions with dozens of innocent lives hanging in the balance. Carter's radio crackled again. Reaper 6. We've got additional complications. News crews are setting up. Social media is going viral. The terrorists know they have maximum exposure. Time frame? Hassan just announced they'll execute one child every 15 minutes, starting in 90 minutes if their demands aren't met. Maya's hands clenched involuntarily. 90 minutes to learn advanced marksmanship, position herself 800 meters away, and make a shot that would haunt her forever regardless of the outcome. Carter pulled into an industrial complex and drove directly toward a massive construction crane, towering over the Riverside district. Maya, I need you to understand something. What I'm asking you to do, it's not just about marksmanship. It's about becoming someone different in the next hour. Someone who can carry the weight of this decision. As they approached the crane, Maya could see the bridge in the distance. Even from here, she could make out the school bus positioned in the center span, surrounded by police vehicles maintaining a careful perimeter. News helicopters circled like vultures, their cameras broadcasting the crisis to the world. Carter parked and immediately began unloading equipment from the vehicle's rear compartment. Maya watched in fascination as he assembled what looked like a mobile command center laptop computers, communication gear, and weapons she couldn't identify. First lesson, Carter said, opening the rifle case. This is a Remington M24, a 3.300 Winchester Magnum. Effective range 1,200 meters in the right hands. He began assembling the weapon with practiced efficiency. The scope is a Leupold Mark IV, variable power. At 800 meters, you're looking at roughly 2.3 seconds of flight time. Maya tried to process the technical information, but her mind kept drifting to the children on that bus. How do you know I can do this? Carter paused in his assembly. Because 45 minutes ago, you made 2 shots under extreme stress that most trained snipers would be proud of. Because your breathing control is textbook, your natural stance is perfect, and because you have something that can't be taught, which is the ability to find calm in chaos. Carter's eyes met hers. Maya, I've worked with snipers who've trained for years to develop what you demonstrated naturally back at the range. Carter's radio buzzed with an update. All units, be advised. Hassan has moved to the front of the bus. He's visible through the windshield, but the angle is still impossible from ground level. Carter handed Maya a pair of high-powered binoculars. "Look at the bridge. Tell me what you see." Maya raised the binoculars and focused on the distant bus. The image that resolved made her heart race. She could see Hassan clearly now, a bearded man in his 30s. Wearing a tactical vest, the dead man's switch clearly visible in his left hand. Behind him, through the bus windows, she could make out small faces pressed against the glass. "I can see him," Maya whispered. "And the children. Wind conditions?" Maya had no idea how to assess wind conditions for a sniper shot, but Carter was already setting up a portable weather station. Southwest wind, gusting between 12 and 18 miles per hour. Temperature 72 degrees, humidity 45%. He made rapid calculations on a ballistic computer. At 800 meters, you're looking at approximately 14 inches of wind drift. The numbers felt abstract until Carter showed her the scope's reticle system. "See these hash marks? Each one represents a specific adjustment for distance and wind. At this range, with these conditions, you'll aim here." He pointed to a spot that seemed impossibly far from the actual target. Maya's phone rang her sister again. The sound of her normal life felt like an intrusion from another universe. She declined the call and immediately felt guilty. If this went wrong, that might be the last time she'd ever hear from her family. Carter noticed her expression. Second thoughts? Maya looked through the binoculars again. This time, she focused on one particular window where a small girl, maybe 8 years old, had her face pressed against the glass. The child was crying, her small hand leaving prints on the window as she tried to wave at the police cars below. "No," Maya said quietly. "No second thoughts." Carter nodded and shouldered a equipment bag. "Then let's go save some lives." The climb up the construction crane was terrifying. Maya had never been comfortable with heights, and the wind at 200 feet above the city was significantly stronger than at ground level. Carter moved with the confidence of someone who'd done this before, but Maya had to force herself not to look down as they ascended the ladder system. "Don't think about the height," Carter called back to her. "Think about the shot. Visualize the sequence. Breathe, aim, squeeze, follow through." When they reached the crane's operator cab, Carter immediately began setting up the shooting position. The view was spectacular and terrifying, the entire city spread out below them. The bridge clearly visible in the distance, and the school bus looking impossibly small from this height. Carter handed Maya the assembled rifle. "This is it. No more practice, no more theory. In 60 minutes, Hassan starts killing children, and you're the only person in position to stop him." Maya accepted the weapon, feeling its familiar weight. Through the scope, she could see Hassan clearly now, his finger resting on the dead man's switch. Behind him, 43 children waited for someone to save them. "Carter," Maya said quietly, "what if I miss?" Carter's response was immediate and absolute. "You won't." But as Maya settled into her shooting position and began calculating the impossible shot, she realized that confidence might not be enough. The wind at 200 feet above the city was a living thing, gusting and swirling around the crane's steel framework with unpredictable fury. Maya lay prone on the narrow platform Carter had rigged, the rifle's bipod legs extended and locked, her body forming a stable shooting foundation despite the precarious position. Through the scope, the school bus looked deceptively close. The Leupold's magnification brought Hassan into sharp focus. She could see the sweat beading on his forehead, the nervous twitch in his left eye, the way his thumb hovered over the dead man's switch. Behind him, children's faces appeared and disappeared at the windows like ghosts. "Wind's picking up," Carter observed, monitoring his portable weather station. "Gusting to 22 miles per hour now. That changes your holdover to approximately 18 inches left." Maya adjusted her aim point, watching the crosshairs dance in the scope as micro-tremors from the crane's movement translated through the rifle. Every gust of wind meant recalculating the shot. Every second that passed brought them closer to Hassan's deadline. Carter's radio crackled with updates. All units, Hassan is becoming increasingly agitated. He's shouting at the children, waving the switch. Negotiators are trying to establish communication, but he's not responding to attempts at contact. Maya's breathing had settled into the rhythm Carter had taught her: deep inhale, partial exhale, hold fire on the natural respiratory pause. But her heart rate remained elevated, adrenaline coursing through her system despite her attempts at control. "Talk to me about the shot," Carter said quietly, his voice steady in her earpiece. "What are you seeing?" "Target is stationary, standing behind the driver's seat. Clear view of center mass through the windshield." Maya's voice surprised her with its steadiness. "Wind is pushing left to right, approximately 20 miles per hour, sustained with gusts. Range 847 meters, according to the laser rangefinder. Bullet drop?" Maya consulted the ballistic chart Carter had taped to the rifle stock. "Approximately 89 inches at this range. I'm holding 4 mils high, 6 mils left for wind." Carter nodded approvingly. "Outstanding. You're thinking like a sniper." But thinking like a sniper and being a sniper were different things entirely. Maya had never taken a human life before. Today, and the weight of what she was about to do pressed down on her like a physical force. Through the scope, Hassan looked human, frightened, desperate, probably convinced he was fighting for something he believed in. "Control to Reaper 6, the radio crackled. "Hassan just grabbed a child, looks like a young girl, maybe 7 years old. He's holding her in front of the windshield. Repeat, he has a human shield." Maya's blood turned to ice. Through the scope, she watched Hassan drag a small girl with pigtails to the front of the bus. The child was crying, her small hands pressed against the glass as Hassan positioned her directly in front of himself. "I can't take the shot," Maya whispered. "He's using her as a shield." Carter's voice remained calm. "What's your sight picture now?" Maya forced herself to study the scene clinically. Hassan is directly behind the child. I can see portions of his left shoulder and part of his head, but any shot risks hitting her. Keep watching. Hostage takers using human shields typically can't maintain the position for long. They need to communicate, to move, to assert control. He'll give you an opening. Maya's phone buzzed with a text message from her sister. "Maya, where are you? I'm worried. Call me." The normalcy of the message felt surreal against the backdrop of what she was experiencing. Her sister was probably sitting in their usual restaurant, checking her watch, wondering why Maya was late for dinner. She had no idea that her sister was lying on a construction crane, preparing to kill a man to save 43 children. "Hassan's moving," Carter observed. "He's shouting something at the police." Through the scope, Maya watched Hassan push the child aside and step forward to the windshield. He was screaming, his face contorted with rage, the dead man's switch held high above his head like a trophy. For a moment, he was completely exposed. "I have a clear shot," Maya reported. "Wind?" Maya felt the breeze against her cheek, watched the flags on nearby buildings. "Steady at 18 miles per hour, left to right. Take it." Maya's finger moved to the trigger. The crosshairs settled on Hassan's center mass. Her breathing slowed, her heart rate dropped, and the world narrowed to the small circle of the scope's field of view. Then Hassan stepped back, grabbing another child, a boy this time, maybe 10 years old. The moment was gone. "Damn it," Maya breathed. Carter's radio erupted with urgent chatter. "All units. Hassan is escalating. He selected his first victim, a young boy. He's dragging him to the front of the bus. This is it, people. If we don't act now, he starts executing hostages." Maya watched in horror as Hassan forced the boy to his knees at the front of the bus. The terrorist pulled out a pistol, pressing it to the child's head while holding the dead man's switch in his other hand. The boy was sobbing, his small body shaking with terror. "Maya." Carter's voice was urgent but controlled. "You need to take this shot. Now." He's right next to the boy. "If I miss by even an inch, you won't miss." Carter's conviction was absolute. Trust your training. Trust your instincts. That child is going to die in the next 30 seconds, unless you act. Maya's scope settled on Hassan's head. At this angle, with the boy kneeling in front of him, it was the only shot available. A headshot at 847 meters, through wind, with the child's life hanging in the balance if she missed by even a fraction of an inch. Her breathing slowed to almost nothing. The wind seemed to pause. The crosshairs steadied on Hassan's temple, just visible above the boy's head. Maya's finger took up the trigger slack. The rifle's mechanism was perfectly tuned. She could feel the exact moment when the firing pin would release. Through her earpiece, she heard Carter's voice, barely a whisper. "Send it." The rifle bucked against her shoulder. The .300 Winchester Magnum round left the barrel at 2,950 feet per second, beginning its 2.3-second journey across the city. Maya worked the bolt automatically, chambering another round, her scope never leaving the target area. Time stretched like taffy. Maya watched the bullet's path through the scope, though she knew she couldn't actually see the projectile. She saw Hassan's head snap back, saw him collapse instantly, the dead man's switch flying from his nerveless fingers to clatter harmlessly on the bus floor. The boy remained kneeling, unharmed but traumatized, as SWAT teams swarmed the bus from both ends of the bridge. Carter's radio exploded with chatter. "Target down! Target down! Hassan is neutralized. SWAT teams are securing the bus now." Maya remained in position, her eyes still pressed to the scope, watching as tactical officers flooded onto the bus. One by one, children began emerging scared, crying, but alive. All 43 of them. "Outstanding shot," Carter said quietly. 847 meters, 80 miles per hour crosswind, precision headshot with a human shield in play. That's the kind of shooting that legends are made of. Maya finally lifted her head from the scope. Her hands were steady, her breathing controlled, but she felt fundamentally changed. The woman who had climbed this crane an hour ago no longer existed. Carter's phone rang. He answered immediately. "Carter, yes, sir. Understood. I'll ask her." He ended the call and looked at Maya with something that might have been respect. "That was my commanding officer. There's a situation developing in Prague. High-value target, impossible shot. Innocent lives at stake." Carter paused. "They want to know if you're interested in making this permanent." Maya looked down at the rifle in her hands, then at the city spread out below. Somewhere down there, 43 children were going home to their families because of a decision she'd made and a shot she'd taken. Her phone buzzed again, another message from her sister. Maya realized she'd have to call her back, make some excuse about working late, pretend that nothing had changed. But everything had changed. "Prague," Maya said quietly. "When do we leave?" Carter smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. "Welcome to the team, Maya Rodriguez. Pack light. We wheels up in 6 hours." As they began the long climb down from the crane, Maya realized her old life was ending and something extraordinary was beginning. She was no longer just someone who replaced targets at a shooting range. She was someone who could make the impossible shot when it mattered most. And the world, it seemed, had plenty of impossible shots that needed taking.